Hello everyone, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. From past few months, the tensions between Russia and Ukraine were rising, but few days back, Russia has invaded Ukraine. Presently, Russia is marching towards the Ukrainian capital, that is Kiev. And if the Kiev comes into the hands of Russia, and this particular invasion will be complete, and Russia will then move towards regime change in Ukraine. In this context, we will discuss something called SWIFT today, SWIFT. Okay, how is it relevant? What is SWIFT and why is it in news? We will discuss all of this. Let's begin. See here, SWIFT banking system. The particular term SWIFT is associated with banking system. Okay, it has been in news from few days. What is SWIFT and could it be used in sanctions against Russia? So, we have understood two things here. SWIFT is a banking system and this is being discussed in the context of being used against Russia as sanctions. Russia, Ukraine, what is SWIFT and could it be used against Putin? See, everywhere we are seeing this SWIFT as against Russia. Can it be used against Russia to disincentivize Russia? So, now let us see what is this SWIFT. SWIFT stands for Society of Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications. Okay? It is abbreviated as SWIFT. Very important for 2022 preliminary examination. It was started in the year 1973. UPSC can trick you by asking SWIFT, which is an interbank telecommunication financial network, was started in the year 1945 or it was started along with WTO. Okay, it can ask both these kind of questions which will be tempted, you will be tempted to mark it correct, but it was started in the year 1973. WTO was started in the year 1995 and it was not started along with UNO also, it was not started along with UN also, it was started in the year 1973 and it is based in Belgium. Okay. Now, we have seen three different facts about SWIFT. What does it mean? What do you mean by SWIFT is an interbank financial telecommunication? For example, imagine a person from India has moved to America for his employment or for his education. How do you think he will manage his expenses? Because in India we have rupees, but in USA you need dollars. Okay, how this conversion from rupee to dollar would happen from India and USA? For example, if you have an account, if you have a bank account in Syndicate Bank for that matter, or Canara Bank, which has been merged into Canara Bank as of now, money to Canara Bank can be deposited even from Bank of Baroda or also SBI. Okay. This system of interbank transactions in India is managed by RBI, which is called as something called as core banking solutions, okay, or core banking system, we call it CBS. This manages the interbank transactions. The same way, if there is a transaction, that is financial transaction between India and USA that is required, and here comes something called as SWIFT, Society of Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. SWIFT will mediate and it will help in transfer of information from Indian financial institution to a financial institution based in USA. This is the importance and the functioning of SWIFT. SWIFT is a global member owned cooperative. Okay, SWIFT is a member owned cooperative and world's leading provider of secure financial messaging services. Okay, we have understood this. SWIFT connects 11,000 financial institutions as of now from around 200 countries. Okay, this is the extent of SWIFT. SWIFT is not a bank. It will not undertake any kind of lending or deposit facilities. It is not a bank. It is just a member owned cooperative or a system which facilitates the transfer of international financial transaction information. SWIFT assigns each financial organization a unique code that has either 8 characters or 11 characters. It gives a unique code to each of these 11,000 financial institutions, and that is how it will carry out it will facilitate the financial transaction and also transfer of financial information. Now let us see what are the problems with SWIFT. What are the problems? See here in this news article you can see in the year 2018 how the delay in the transaction has caused harm to a particular person. Okay, he was relocating from Britain to or EU to Canada, and these 54,000 pounds had a delay of 6 days, because of which he lost his property. Okay, so one of the major problem of SWIFT is that delays. For example, imagine if you deposit a money today, and it will be reflected in the bank account after 7 or 10 days. Okay, this is the amount of delay that SWIFT experiences. Okay, delay in transfers is one of the major problem. And the next one are the errors in transactions, data theft and cyber crimes. Cyber crimes has emerged as one of the biggest threat for any digital communication for that matter. Okay, in India we see around 500 to 1000 cybercrime cases every day. Okay, and majority of them won't be reported at all. In this case, imagine SWIFT, which is maintaining almost 11,000 plus institutions in 200 plus countries. What can be the vulnerability of SWIFT? Okay, it is very vulnerable, and data theft and cyber crimes are very high. The rate of cybercrime and data theft is very high when it comes to SWIFT. These are the problems with SWIFT. And now let us discuss why is it being discussed now. Okay, you already know in the context of Russia and Ukraine conflict, the entire world is demanding NATO forces or the USA for that matter in order to impose sanctions on SWIFT transactions. What happens if the SWIFT transactions are halted or there are sanctions on the SWIFT transactions? Let us see, SWIFT is often looked as a geopolitical tool. Even now it is being looked as a geopolitical tool. Sanctions put on Russia are not adequate as of now. As of now, there are sanctions put on place on Russia, but these sanctions are not adequate. For example, what are the sanctions that are put on? Russian banks, there are sanctions on 4 Russian banks, okay, and these Russian banks cannot trade with EU or United Nations or USA. These banks cannot trade, but there is no sanction of the foreign assets of these banks. As of now, there are no sanctions on the foreign assets of these banks. Foreign travel of the Duma members are prohibited. Duma is the parliament of Russia, and the foreign travel of these Duma members is being banned. Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which connects Russia and Germany, and it was constructed to facilitate the transfer of oil and gas, and the NATO forces or the USA has come up and said that the Nord Stream 2 will be closed and there will be sanctions on it. But the reality is, as of now, there is not even a single cubic meter of gas flowing through Nord Stream 2 pipeline, because this is not yet operational. This is not operational at all, and US is trying to put sanctions on something that is not operational, which will not work. But contrast to this, Australia and New Zealand have publicly announced the closure of diplomatic channels with Russia, and also they have barred any kind of trade with Russia. And these 4 kind of transactions or these 4 kind of sanctions that are put on Russia are not adequate to disincentivize Russia or deter Russia to stop the invasion. Okay, it is not deterring Russia. From the capture of Chernobyl, they have moved on to Kyiv. They will capture Kyiv by the end of this evening. So these sanctions are not adequate. That is the reason why the global community is demanding for the sanctions on SWIFT. Okay, SWIFT sanctions by all the financial institutions of Russia should be banned. This is what is being demanded. Okay, what happens if it is banned? If the SWIFT transaction from all the financial institutions of Russia is banned, then the Russian banks or financial institutions or Russian people cannot carry out any kind of foreign transactions, then there will be a domestic pressure. There will be domestic pressure in Russia, and this would deter Putin, who is the president of Russia, in order to stop this particular invasion. Okay, this is being discussed. Then why do you think the US and the NATO forces are hesitant to do it? Okay, why do you think they are hesitant to do it? We will see that. We will see why are they hesitant. Before that, let's see when was the SWIFT used before? When was it used before? In the year 2012. In 2012, when Iran retaliated its nuclear program, civil nuclear deal, then SWIFT transactions were put on Iran. Okay, Iran is a very small country when it comes to the global economy. SWIFT can be easily imposed on Iran, and such an imposition or a sanction will not cause any damage to the world economy. But remember, this is not the case with Russia. Russia is a very big economy, and Russian economy lies on its oil and gas. We will see, is this one of the reasons for Western forces not imposing sanctions on SWIFT? We will see that. And the second one, in 2013 and 2014, when Russia invaded Crimea, then these SWIFT sanctions were talked about. Coming to the point, why is the West hesitant this time? Why is the West hesitant? First one is, Russia is a massive economy. We have seen this. Russia is a massive economy. It contributes around 12% to the global production of oil and natural gas. This is a very huge contribution. If SWIFT sanctions are on place on Russia, then the entire supply of the oil and natural gas will be halted. This will endanger the economy of Germany. Germany is the biggest contributor to EU's European Union's economy. If the German economy is hit, then this will hit the Europe's economy. If the Europe economy is hit, then USA and India will suffer. So now it is called a double-edged sword. Okay, sanctions on SWIFT is being called as a double-edged sword. It's a key energy supplier to Europe. We have seen it supplies almost 12% of the global crude oil and gas, and it is an exporter of materials critical to manufacturing like semiconductors, automotives, electronics and fertilizers. These are the two reasons why the West is hesitant. Along with this, what Russia did after SWIFT sanctions were imposed in 2014 was Russia started building their in-house system for international banking transactions. And this is why, even if the SWIFT sanctions are in place, then this will not halt any of the Russian transactions. Okay, then it will be of no use. And the last one, and the important one that is being talked about recently, is the use of blockchain technology, that is cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. If Russia resorts to the transactions in Bitcoin, which has no hassle at all, then the hegemony of the US dollar as the world's currency will be hit. Then this will be an example for many other countries in order to evade transactions. Okay, and this will be a big blow to the biggest economic power, that is USA. These are the four reasons why the West is still hesitant, and things are going on, the negotiations are on whether to have the sanctions on SWIFT or not. As and when we have the update, we will update you regarding that. Now let us see a question. What do you understand by SWIFT banking mechanism that is being discussed in the context of Russia and Ukraine? Okay, elaborate SWIFT, okay, elaborate SWIFT and write the functions. Write the functions and the objectives and also the advantages. Second part asks the advantages. What are the advantages and disadvantages of SWIFT? Disadvantages, we have talked about the challenges and the concerns. Okay, if you write that in the part of disadvantages, that would be more than enough. I hope you have liked the video. Thanks a lot. For more such enriching content, please subscribe to Legacy IAS Academy. Have a nice day. Thank you.